What's up guys, and welcome back to MOV Plus. Hope you're all keeping well out there. Looking at the warm-up now guys, we're gonna start things off with a minute of cardio of your choice. So you can decide what you wanna do there. We're gonna go with a light plate ground overhead, which is gonna look like this. Okay, so you're touching to the ground and then locking out overhead. We do that for the first minute. The next 4 minutes, what we're gonna do is alternate between 20 skips. So grabbing our skipping rope and doing single unders. Just gonna look like this. That then rolls into 10 sit-ups. So setting ourselves up on the ground, either with or without an ab mat, either is fine. But laying back and then sitting up nice and tall. And the last one there is 5 up downs. So we'll be going from a grounded position in the push-up position and then standing up nice and tall, moving in and out of that one. So those 3 movements will just be on repeat for those remaining 4 minutes. Good to go? All right, starting in 10. So 1 minute of cardio of your choice. We are going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this one, guys, we've deliberately gone a very light plate. It's important that this one stays continuous throughout the whole minute, so don't grab anything super duper heavy that's gonna have you stopping and needing rest. This is really more about just kind of getting the body moving, getting the blood flowing. So the weight plate itself is just there for something to kind of hang on to. It's the actual just movement itself that's gonna get everything loosened up and get those joints moving. Now, if you are doing this movement, guys, you wanna think about a nice flat back. So as Em comes down, she's gonna kind of soften the knees just a little bit, but it's a big hip hinge while she's keeping that spine in a neutral position. And then at the top, she's got that head just slightly poked through, getting that nice lockout position. But again, you guys can pick whatever you want with that one. Things like jumping jacks, any kind of burpees, running high knees, stuff like that is cool. So 10 more seconds, and then we're gonna move into the 20 skips next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So grabbing the skipping rope, guys, we want to set ourselves up with a nice upright body position. So I always like to visualize like a pogo stick. It's straight up and down. There's no bends or breaks in that. I'm gonna be on the balls of the feet, okay, doing 20 reps of that one. That then moves to those 10 sit-ups. And we're using an ab mat, guys. This is just for a little bit of added kind of support in that low back. It also allows us to kind of open up those abs and stretch out a little bit more each rep. If you don't have it, don't stress too much. I would recommend though, if you're doing this on hard ground, to put maybe like a towel or a yoga mat or something underneath your butt, just for the sake of comfort. So 10 reps there, and then I'm gonna hit up 5 up downs. So there's really kind of 2 key positions with this, guys. We're thinking about a nice tall stand up. So head, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, everything stacked tall. And then we come down into that push-up position. Okay, so looking at all those same joints lining up again in that bottom position. Now with the arm position on any kind of skipping, guys, we're looking at trying to kind of rein in that upper arm. Hands should be like they've just kind of flipped out from the pocket, so just slightly forward of the body there, and just getting that nice, efficient little flick from the wrists. Tiniest little bit of movement at the elbows, but not too much. And you notice as Em goes through this, she's going to keep her butt glued to the ground. Sometimes it's tempting to kind of lock those abs on and almost do like a hollow rock over the top of it. What happens there is the bum's going to lift up and then slam back down to the ground. We end up getting a sore tailbone. So we want to make sure we allow that to stay still and let that spine kind of curve over the pad. So a good thing that Em's doing here is she's going narrow at the back with the feet and then wide at the top. That just allows her to really prop those hips up nice and high. All right, back onto the skips. Now, if you don't happen to have a skipping rope at home, guys, just literally just jumps on the spot. You can just mimic the movement. That'll be enough to get that heart rate up, get us nice and warmed up. Okay, 90 seconds to go. Now, as far as like a standard of movement goes, guys, we want to think about at the back, we're going to touch the ground, whether that's with a straight arm reaching back or bent arm kind of touching just above the head. And then that is going to come up to touching the toes at the top. And that way we're ensured to get the same range of motion every single time. You can also use that kind of that arm motion to swing through and create a little bit of momentum. Okay, 1 more minute. Nice. On the sit-ups again, so 10 reps here. So 30 more seconds. If you're feeling good, you can kind of up the tempo a little bit. It's up to you. If you're feeling good, feeling like the joints get nice and loose, just do your speed. Last 15 seconds. And time. Alrighty, so that is the warm-up done, guys. Take a little bit of recovery time, and then we're going to check out build next. Alrighty, so we're going to check out the build workout now, guys. This one is a 10-minute time frame, and we're going to be getting through 4 sets of the following. So the first movement is a split squat. This can be done weighted or non-weighted. I'm just going to go with the weighted version for today. So it is a lunge setup, but we're going to go through all 10 reps on one side. Then we change the legs over, and we go all 10 reps on the other side. So there's not the switch every single time, so not alternating. So that's gonna be movement number 1, 10 and 10, and then we have 15 dips on either a box or a bench or a chair or whatever you've got access to, and that is gonna look like this. Okay, and that can be adjusted difficulty-wise by how far in or out the feet are, so you guys can play around with that, find a level that's gonna work well for you. So with 4 sets in 10 minutes, we roughly wanna try and get a set done about every 2.5 minutes. Also factoring in a little bit of rest in between the rounds as well. Good to go? All right, starting in 10. So 10 and 10 on the split squats is up first. And we are going in 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So as I mentioned, guys, this can be weighted or non-weighted. If you're doing weighted, we're gonna go kind of suitcase style. So dumbbells, kettlebells, or whatever you've got down by your sides. But work with what you've got, guys. If you've just got a single weight, you can obviously hold in the middle there or alternate arms. If it's a loaded backpack, you can literally like wear the backpack. That's cool too. We just want to make sure that it's a weight that is going to be challenging, but also unbroken for those sets of 10. So switching sides, we're going for 10 each side here. Looking at the setup, guys, at the bottom, we're going to see some really nice 90-degree bends pretty much in everything. So front knee, leg going into the other leg, and that back knee, everything's nice and square, so her body's nice and upright. We're also going to see that that front foot heel is going to stay stuck to the ground. It's not going to peel up to the toes. Nice. All right, so there's our 10 and 10. We move to our dips now. Now this one is one that hopefully we can kind of start off unbroken on, but obviously we're dealing with a smaller muscle group here. This may hit a level of fatigue where we have to break up the reps a little bit. The hand position on that bench or box or seat or whatever it is you're using is going to basically be just outside of the hips. And ideally what we're looking for is getting down to a point where the shoulder is about level with or possibly even just slightly deeper than the shoulder, depending on your mobility. So looking at kind of triceps, shoulders, pecs, all that good stuff there. Play around with some different difficulty levels as you go through these rounds. You can work with the feet further out to make it a little more difficult. Tuck the feet further underneath you if you want to make it a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to be about another 30 seconds before we hit this next one. Alrighty, 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, if you're fairly new to this sort of stuff, guys, you maybe find that the balance is a tricky part of this one. So it's worthwhile maybe even just going the first round or two without any weights. You can even have your hand on a bench or a chair or something for some balance there. A broomstick works well too, to have that kind of next to you. Just try and get into a nice rhythm where you can control the movement. If you feel like you're having to stop every couple of reps and readjust because of the balance, it's not going to serve you well to add weight on top of that. So only bring the weight in once you feel really confident with it at body weight. And one of the things we want to be kind of conscious of as we're going through this is imagining this straight line from head, shoulders, hips, down to the knee that's going down the ground, so her left knee at the moment. Just getting that nice connection of just that straight up and down line like her body's in an elevator, and avoiding the urge to kind of tilt or lean forward onto that front leg. She's looking good. Notice the dumbbell staying tight by her hips too. She's not letting them swing forward. All right, so moving back into the dips for 15. Maybe you can break these up a little bit. Now, one thing that Em's doing quite well here is she's staying very, very close to the bench, right? It's almost as if her back is just about to kind of scrape against the edge of it. What we're thinking about is keeping sort of the driving part of the body here, so that shoulder, kind of elbow area close to the hand, right? I don't want to feel like my body is lurching away from the bench and creating this really big angle behind me. I want to feel like I'm staying close, okay? So there's less stress on the joints. It's in a more efficient position. So always feel like you're staying close to that bench as you slide up and down. Okay, so we'll do our next one at the 5-minute marker. Okay, getting ready for this next one. In 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, if you happen to set up for this, guys, and you're moving through it and you feel like a bit kind of cramped through the hips and the knees, you feel like you're having a hard time getting that heel down on that front foot, usually means you've set up too close, right? So you want to try and step that out a little bit. Now, obviously, everyone has a different height and different length of legs, so there's no kind of definitive distance that we set it up, but we just want to try to wiggle the feet and find that spot where everything's kind of squared up. We have that leading leg knee, so we'll see when she's got her right leg forward now, that knee's going to sit right over the top of that ankle when she's in the bottom of the lunge, or the split squat, I should say. It's really nice active posture she's got as well. She's keeping those shoulders back, head up nice and high, dumbbells drawn back. So even though this is predominantly a leg movement, the upper body is doing its job as well by keeping everything in place. If she were to relax that, those things are going to start to kind of come forward. She'll lean forward, those dumbbells will swing forward, everything will be a snowball effect, and we'll end up getting into a bad position. So make sure you're working strong there. So moving back on these dips now. And if you've never done this movement before, guys, it can be quite a bit of a stretch on the shoulders. So you can kind of warm up into it as you go, start to open the depth up as you need to. But don't feel like you've got to go straight to the bottom straight away. Just try and loosen it up. Keep everything in nice and close as well. So it's a bit hard to see from that angle, but from behind here I can see Em's keeping her elbows kind of like wound in close. She's not letting them splay out to the side. She's keeping everything in narrow. All right, so we've got one more round to go. Okay, 10 seconds. And one final round. And go for it. So 4th and final round here, guys. Just keep checking in that form's looking good. The legs will be starting to get a little spicy by now. Same with the dip, so just keep checking in everything's where it's supposed to be. Notice the tempo of this as well. She's not rushing through it, she's just keeping it smooth. So it's sort of 1 to 2 seconds down, 1 to 2 seconds up. Minor little pause at the top just to kind of set her balance. Good. And she's doing this on a gym mat, so there's a little bit of cushioning on that knee. She touches the ground. Now, obviously, we want to do this controlled enough that we're not going to slam our knee into the ground, but we get fatigued, accidents happen, so you want to make sure you've got that little bit of softness under there. Even just a rolled up towel is good just for safety-wise. You want your knee to be able to touch something soft. If you're doing this on like concrete or tiles or floorboards, you just want to make sure you're not banging your knee into something hard. Right, last set of dips. So again, you see she sets the hands up just outside of the hips there, slides herself just off the edge. She's staying close, and then just lowering herself into that. So I would say with this one, guys, try and set the difficulty level at somewhere where it's like the first couple of rounds out of those 4, you can probably go unbroken, but it's difficult enough by the 3rd and 4th round that we have to break it up a little bit. That way it's nice and challenging. So that was our last round, guys. We've still got about 40 seconds left on the clock, so you can keep moving through that if you're still going, especially if you are doing it the split squat unloaded, so no weights. You can work with a tempo to make that more difficult, so chew up a little bit more time, get those legs working hard. Once that's done, we'll check out MOV next. And time. All right, so that is the build workout done, guys. Have a little bit of recovery time, and then we're gonna look at some cool down stretches to finish. Alrighty, guys, so now that all the hard stuff's done, we're gonna just cool down with a couple of stretches. So the first drill we're gonna do is just a wall calf stretch. We're actually gonna use a bench just so you guys can see it a little bit better. So setting ourselves up with the heel on the ground, ball the foot on the upright, so that's where the wall would come in. You would use that to your advantage for that. We're gonna go for 45 seconds on each side. This one's pretty straightforward, guys. You just want to try and get yourself in a position where you feel the calf and the Achilles getting that nice big extended position and stretching out. So you can play around with kind of rocking forwards and backwards, so kind of tensioning on and off, flossing through that ankle. You can also get a tiny little bit of kind of like rotation as well, so you can kind of feel like the inside or the outside of the calf a little bit, but just playing around with that. Any kind of vertical surface like a door frame or whatever, edge of, or the leg of a dining room table, something like that's good, just something to wedge the foot against. But just going 45 seconds on each side. This is a good one if you've done a lot of like running, jumping, skipping like we've done today. And switching sides. Now, when you go through this, guys, especially if you've ever had any issues with like calves or Achilles in previous times, don't force it into a place of like pain. Should feel like a nice, like a releasing kind of a stretch. So you'll feel a little bit of like borderline discomfort, but it's that nice kind of stretching, relaxing kind of feeling. So don't force the ankle into a bend it doesn't want to go into. We're just going to get that nice feeling of stretching everything out. Alrighty, so that's the first drill, guys. The second one is going to be a cross-body shoulder stretch. So we're going to take one arm across the body, wrap it up with the other one, and just draw it in nice and close. So she's stretching the left side right now. Okay, and what she can do as well is kind of bring the body around, almost get a little bit of rotation there. So we're getting rear shoulder. You'll probably even get a little bit of lat as well. So it's really important with that free arm that we wrap it as high up on the shoulder as you can, draw the whole thing in, and then just reach around as far as you can, stretch them out. And switching sides. Now, sometimes when people do this one, guys, they bring the arm across and they kind of get the other arm at the forearm, and that doesn't really kind of capture that stretch really well. So this is where you want to get as high up as you can, kind of cross over the back of your tricep there, wrap the back of the shoulder, and then you can really crank it up and get that stretch to kick in. We don't want the arm to just kind of bend. That doesn't really do much for us. And done. All right, so those are our 2 drills, guys. Let's get a couple of rounds of that, get everything nice and loosened up, and we'll catch you next time for MOV+. See you guys.